Hey, we are in for some fun today. Those who know me from Tarkov already know I love tier lists, and we can finally make one for WoW. On that note, let me know in the comments below if you have other ideas for WoW tier lists. There will definitely be one for all of the specs and how fun they are to play in Midnight. But keep them ideas coming. Today we are looking at the current M+ season dungeons and rank them how fun they are to play. For me, a good and fun dungeon needs to have 3 criteria. It needs to be ultra fast, it needs to have very large pulls, and it can't be too punishing on mechanics, especially like pools on the ground. So melee can have good uptime all dungeon. Alright, let's see. So we will start with Algetha Academy, it's the first dungeon on the list. And this is one of my favorite dungeons of all time. Because the first pull is very big and you can have very high DPS, and I kinda like it that you can like blast from the get-go and you can get Bloodlust on cooldown, you can get all of your CDs on cooldown, so I really enjoy this pull. Furthermore, the first boss, the boss you fight after your first pull, is usually very high on AoE damage as well, so yeah, you can just blast for the first 5-6 minutes of this dungeon, and I really enjoy that, so this is a huge plus. On the other hand, you have like the Wind Elemental, which is like a solo mob that takes a very long time to do. Yeah, you can like snap mobs to it with Evoker, but yeah, it's kind of a bit annoying. And they changed the mobs near the end boss, where they spawn these like large pools. So this is where like melee can have a little bit of trouble getting the uptime. But in general, this dungeon is, in my opinion, quite easy and actually quite fun to play. You have the haste buff on the second boss, you have the damage amp when he's stunned on the second boss. Veximus is not that hard, in my opinion. You just need to like play it clean, and everyone needs to move out with the pools and stuff like that. And you can get fairly big pulls all the dungeon basically. Um, well, the birds are like limited in the sense that you cannot pull multiple packs of the birds before the second boss. But the first pull is quite big, and then after the second boss, the pulls you can basically choose how big you go, depending on how many interrupts you have and how your tank kites and plays the mobs. And then the pull right before Veximus can be played as a whole pull in Bloodlust. So this is usually done in like +10, because you won't have Bloodlust for the second boss, so you can use it there. And this is like a very nice pull as well. Basically, if all of the interrupts are good, or if you have like multiple AoE stuns and stuff like that, you can pull all of the platform right before Veximus, and then blast these mobs, and I really enjoy that. The end boss is not that enjoyable, in my opinion. I don't find it very hard. Even pre-nerf, I don't think this boss was super difficult. You just need to like dodge orbs for it. uh, but yeah, it's just that you can't always stick to the boss as a melee, because sometimes he needs to be kited through like uh, orbs and stuff like that, and you need to dodge and you lose a little bit of uptime. And then as a range, it's always obviously annoying that you like need to walk and dodge, and you cannot like blast the boss. So yeah, there's a few points of deduction for the last boss and maybe the Wind Elemental. But overall, I really enjoy this dungeon, so it's a straight up S tier for me. It's on the same level for me as Freehold, Court of Stars, Halls of Atonement, Maw of Souls, maybe Gambit, and especially I like Junkyard a lot, because it's like one of the fastest dungeons if you have the bots. So you can like clear it in like 15 minutes on 25 to 30, M plus 30 I mean. So yeah, Agatha Academy definitely up there for me. Next one is my Sarah Caverns, and I used to hate this dungeon because I did not really understand what's happening. So there's a few mechanics like the deafening roar from the huge elephant thing, and then you have these masks that fire these laser beams, and if you stand behind someone who gets it, you are getting grilled as well. So, and then there's a lot of tank damage, which is quite annoying, or can be quite annoying, depending on how geared your tank is. So this dungeon has a few points where I would deduct like the rating, and I really hated it when I first started playing it, but now it kind of grew on me a bit, because you can do fairly large pulls. I think in my group we pull like, obviously the first pull is pretty standard with Bloodlust, and then we go into the water and we add a bunch of stuff there and pull that to the right side, and we add a bunch of stuff from that small hut. So yeah, you have a second big pull there, and then you go over this like wooden bridge, and then you pull the entire house and stuff like that. So you usually have like quite large pulls, and especially after the first boss, you're basically in combat for like 6 minutes straight in this crypt kind of room where you have the guy in the middle with the who sacrifices you on his altar. So yeah, huge pulls, very enjoyable to play, I think, if you manage with your group to find the interrupts and to find the CC to actually pull that big. So I think it might even go up to A tier. I was considering B tier first, because it's still quite punishing, and there are some huge voids that, especially on the end boss if the tank is misplaying, where you lose uptime as melee, and you can lose uptime if you are gripped by the totem and the boss is actually standing in the totem. But overall, I would say it goes into A tier. I think it's fine. Alright, Nexus Point. This is another interesting one, because obviously I like that you have a damage amp on the second boss. But overall, I don't enjoy this dungeon too much. There's too much going on. The visuals are very, very bad. It's very linear as well, so it's not. Technically, it's possible to big pull and go like do a big pull towards the second boss entire way there, and then Bloodlust and blast it away. But in general, this key is too dangerous to do that. There's so many things that can go wrong, and usually on a plus 10 even you can't just like YOLO it and go for it. You will die, and then it's annoying, and the key takes longer than it should. So in my opinion, this is like basically a middle of the pack dungeon. It's fine. The damage amp is fun. I don't like the first boss. It's too much area denial. It's not fun to play as a melee because he's standing in shit for a while, and you can't hit the boss unless you're a rogue and you cloak or something like that. So yeah, it goes into B tier, even considering C tier right now, because of the first boss actually. But I think this is fine. The minigame at the end boss is kind of a nice idea. Can be sometimes a bit hard. What I don't like especially about this dungeon, and actually that's why I'm bumping it down in C tier, the visuals in this dungeon are so stupid. Why is it a purple void on a purple ground with purple enemies? It's just make the fucking voids like signal color green, and then make the enemies like red or something like that, so that we can distinct them without using like special filters on our screens or stuff like that. It's so crazy that Blizzard is still not uh, bulging in the philosophy that we make Mythic Plus dungeons like visible for a normal human being, not trained on looking at specific patterns of like a purplish color on a purplish ground. It's so stupid. I hate that. I hate that they do that still. So yeah, that's definitely a reason for it to go down to C tier, because the visuals on this one is actually quite bad. On the other hand, Pit of Saron visuals are awesome. So basically you have like these, the entire dungeon is basically kind of a greenish gray color, and then you have these like white voids, or the breath indicator from the dragon is like white as well on this like kind of dark ground color, which is like very nice to see in my opinion. Same goes by the way for the is it the first boss? I guess, yeah, the boss with the stones that he drops and the tank needs to destroy them. I don't know what his name is, but he's like a giant troll or ice troll or something like that. And the indicators, the visuals on this dungeon is like quite nice. Is it actually S tier? I don't think so, because there are a few things that are too dangerous. For example, Nether Burst cast, usually not a problem if you're in a controlled environment, if you're in a group with people who know what they are doing. It's very unlikely that Nether Burst will go through. But in a pack or in a weekly no-lever plus 10 key where you just want to get through and not everyone is comfortable with their class, this can be quite annoying. For Furthermore, the cave, the ice cave towards the end boss, there can go a lot of things wrong, and this mini boss takes a long time. So yeah, I don't enjoy this part of the dungeon. I think the first few pulls, especially the first pull with Lust, and then the other pulls afterwards, can be quite enjoyable. So yeah, I think this one is not straight to S because there are a few things like the second boss as well. If you miss a kick, then one person is dead. If even if you don't miss a kick, and the shades like grill you, you die to that. There are a lot of voids on that boss. The boss chases someone, and if you don't have a paladin in your group, melee needs to run from that boss as well. So there are a few factors that are not that nice. Depending on how good your tank is, you lose uptime as melee on the last boss. If the boss is not positioned correctly, so you can still hit them while you are bringing out this like ice comet thing. So yeah, a few things that can go wrong, a few things you might not enjoy, especially as melee in this dungeon. So it does not go to S tier, but it's definitely higher on the list than Mycera Caverns. Almost. So basically, a few things different, and this would go straight to S because the pulls are huge. You can do so much damage in this dungeon, and it's very enjoyable. Alright, Seed is a difficult one. When I first did this dungeon, I said exactly these words. I said, alright, we will do this on 10 once for the teleport, and then we will never join this dungeon again. Fuck this. This is exactly what I said when we first completed this dungeon. Bear in mind that I was playing it for the first time. I actually don't think I played it in Legion back then because I took a break to play PUBG. But yeah, this dungeon is difficult in the sense that you need to know what is happening exactly and how to counterplay it. So basically, the first few packs, the first few pulls, you have like subjugators and they do chains. And if you can get out of the chains, for example, with freedom, like shapeshifting as a druid, teleporting as a warlock, stuff like that, if you can get out of the chains, then this dungeon is not that hard, in my opinion, because one of the first pulls and the first boss are basically all of the difficulty. And then, yeah, the other bosses can have some difficult things, and especially the orbs thing, where you sometimes need to move out as melee and you cannot hit the boss. It can happen. So it can't go into A tier. It can't go into S tier, obviously, because there are too many things that can go wrong. The pulls are actually not that big. You can't pull like huge pulls on this dungeon, and this is another reason why it goes down the list. Is it actually dog water? I'm not sure, because it's the thing is, if you know what you're doing, this dungeon is actually not that hard, and the timer is very lenient. So it's very easy to time this, even on probably, I have not done it, but I assume it is easy to time on a very high level, because you can find ways to counter all of the mechanics in this dungeon. And if you have the right setup in your group, then it's pretty easy. But there are a few things that are so annoying and so stupid to play. I think it will go into dog water. Even though, bear in mind that I'm leaning basically towards C tier because it's not that bad if you know what you're doing, but still it's not enjoyable. You know what I mean? It's not like you can make huge pulls and then blast everything and you enjoy it and you have fun and you have huge numbers in your DPS meter. So it's not possible to play according to my criteria, which is like huge pulls, which is like very fast. It's not that fast actually, this dungeon, and there are too many punishing mechanics that actually can kill you if you misplay them on a +10 level, especially, where you usually want to just go through and make fast keys to get your crests or your weekly keys and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's qualifying for dog water. So I don't think this is a very enjoyable dungeon, and I would be happy if it never returned to the rotation. This is especially an argument for it to go into dog water. Nexus Point is not that bad in comparison. So if this would return to the rotation, I would think, yeah, it's not that great, but it's fine. So, but this one I rather not see in the rotation. Okay, Skyreach. Skyreach is a very difficult to judge dungeon because it used to be very linear, and then I've seen the pulls, and we actually tried that ourselves, where you go up the gateway and you pull all of the first platform for the first boss, and then you add the trash from the beginning into the first boss. I might even show a clip of that over here. I think it was from like some Evoker player where I seen it in a video, and then we copied the strat, and this made the dungeon way more enjoyable. Furthermore, as an Evoker, I can like pull the birds from the third boss back into the second boss, which is like another nice thing you can do. And then you can rescue up people up these wind stairs. So there's a lot of nice stuff you can do, which is like enjoyable and fun to do as an Evoker. But in general, this dungeon has area denial. It's very linear, so the big pulls are limited. Especially on a +10, if you don't have a Warlock, you cannot get to the first platform. So, is it a good dungeon? No, not really. Because, again, the mobs are too dangerous to really do like huge pulls. So, it's not possible in this dungeon to do huge pulls. And, again, it's very linear, so you lose a lot of time even on a +10, like playing the dungeon just because it's how it's structured. Not because you're playing bad, not because you don't have enough kicks, but just because the layout of the dungeon forces you to play in a specific way, which is not possible to like clear this dungeon in say 8 minutes. It's just not possible. So yeah, Skyreach I think goes into C tier. Alright, Magister's Terrace, actually quite fun dungeon. Still, even though it's quite linear, the pulls are usually quite big. Let me think about it. The first pull, if you have like a monk that can pull through the wall, it's actually quite big. Second pull is quite big. Then you have like a little bit of a smaller pull, especially if you play the strat where you are fighting in the middle of the bookshelves. And then you have the construct. If you skip it with Invis Potion, it's fine, but let's say you play it, it's not an enjoyable pull. And then you have like multiple nice pulls where you can pull trash into the boss in the first boss and blast trash, so that's fun. Then multiple trash pulls afterwards, which are quite big. The floor towards the second boss can be a bit difficult for the tank, so you need to be careful with your pulls there. But afterwards, you can basically just run out to the huge Void Walker thingy with all of the trash in the hallway. And yeah, the pulls are very nice in this dungeon. Tentacle boss is quite fun because it like splits up and you can multi-dot and do a lot of damage. And then upwards to the end boss. Yeah, I think this is like a good dungeon. Deductions, definitely for the end boss, it's quite hard to heal and the mechanics are very, very punishing. So if you mess this up, you basically have no chance to win it, even on a +10. And well, the hallway to the second boss is really difficult for tanks and can be quite difficult for other people as well, because you can get a lot of group damage, and if your healer is not prepared, then you just die, and this can be quite annoying. So it gets a few deductions for that. In my opinion, it's basically on the same level as my Zyra Caverns, I think. It's not ST, obviously. The pulls are too small for that. But you can usually blast a lot. There are a lot of Voidlings that spawn that give you extra DPS and are good for funnel. So yeah, I think this is a fine dungeon, and I wouldn't mind it if it returns in the rotation. I would actually be happy about it. I would be more happy about it than my Sarah Caverns. So I actually consider putting my Sarah Caverns into B tier. Because all of these three, if they ever return to the rotation, I would be quite happy about them. They all are fun to play and I enjoy playing them. My Sarah Caverns is okay, so I won't like be tilted about it. It's fine if it returns, but it's not like that I'm super happy about it. So I think it goes into B tier. Yep. Windrunner Spire. Difficult, difficult. The first pull is awesome, and then you can do a few huge pulls, but the mechanics again are very punishing, and there are a lot of huge, huge voids that are aerial denial, and you might lose uptime as a melee. You might even lose uptime as a range if the tank is like moving the mobs through to a doorway into the next room, and you're basically stuck behind green puddles, stuff like that. This can be quite annoying. Trash mechanics in general in this dungeon are a bit difficult because you need to like be on top of your kicks very much. You need to be on top of your stuns with the firehawks. There's so much stuff that is going on with the trash that you often enough cannot really just blast and pump DPS even on a plus 10. You need to like play the mechanics. And this is what I don't enjoy dungeons that are too punishing on this lower level, on a plus 10 level, um, where if you misplay once, you die, and then the dungeon takes forever, and that's just annoying. That's not what I enjoy in lower keys, especially. Let's look at the bosses. So the Firehawk boss, the fire dude, not enjoyable at all. That's a stupid boss. I hate it. Second boss is the big guy and his girlfriend. I think they are fine. Again, a lot of area denial on that fight. So yeah, this dungeon in general has a lot of area denial. Thinking about it, the third boss has area denial as well because he like spin to wins. And then the last boss has area denial as well because he does like all of these arrows and you leave a void when you jump up and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not like bad because you can still well, actually it is quite bad. Thinking about it now, if you play this dungeon with lower geared characters on a plus 10 weekly no lever, you can actually fuck this up pretty bad. We did that. I played my paladin last week on this dungeon, and yeah, I think it was a 53-minute dungeon. We had a little bit of trouble because our healer was wearing an agility weapon, and yeah, we were all a bit undergeared. So I assume if one of us would have joined this dungeon on our main character with a huge DPS spike, then this dungeon would have been much, much easier. But again, this is like a criteria that is important. This is not a fast key if you mess up a bit. And even if you don't mess up, it's not actually a very fast key. These can all be quite fast, actually. If you pump DPS and you make huge pulls, these can all be quite fast. This one, not so much. It's just too linear, and then all of these are linear as well. So this one, I think it ranks more into the B tier if we consider like the time it takes to complete it. Mechanic wise, again, it's very punishing. It's very heavy on area denial, so that's quite annoying for melee. But yeah, I think it's either B or C tier. Either it's B or C tier. I think we will leave it in B. It's not like a dungeon I would hate to see come back again, but it's not something I would be happy about either. So, ooh, wait, there's one more category we need to think about: loot. It just came to me right now that I looked at it and saw the picture of the dungeon. I realized that two of the Abyss trinkets for many people is dropping in this dungeon, and Agatha Academy is dropping Puzzle Box, which is like huge. Not sure if these two drop anything relevant for people. I know that my Evoker needs like 6 items from this dungeon, so obviously I'm a bit biased towards this, but in general, um, yeah, Windrunner Spire and Academy are dropping huge trinkets. Skyreach drops a huge trinket for people. Then the ring sets from Nexus Point. This is actually a small consideration as well. The loot you get from the dungeons. But overall, I don't think it changes anything on the ranking right now. It might have been that Skywitch Trinket is more important than Nexus Point. I was just considering switching these two around, but I think this is fine. Considering the loot, we might bump this up to the front of B tier because it's a little bit better. in the sense that the trinkets are more useful to more classes, in my opinion. So yeah, I think this is the tier list for the dungeons in Midnight Season 1. Algatha Academy, definitely S tier. Any season that has Academy in it is one of my favorite seasons, probably, because I love this first pull so much. It's like, you get this buff from the Dragonkins, which is like another added benefit to it. And then you do this huge pull, and if your tank lives it, and you can Bloodlust and you can blast DPS, you can do so much damage. I think currently it might be possible to do, in full gear, it might be possible to do 2 million DPS on this encounter, and this is like, this is awesome. I love big numbers. I love it when you can just blast DPS. So yeah, Academy definitely S tier, one of the most enjoyable dungeons, and visually as well. Visually, one of the most enjoyable dungeons for me, because it's like very clear where your visuals are, what's happening, what's going on. I enjoyed it in Dragonflight so much. It was my favorite dungeon in Dragonflight, and yeah, I think any season that has Academy in it is a huge W. Pit, surprisingly, I was very skeptical when they announced it, that they will do Pit of Sauron this season. But I enjoyed it quite a lot. The pulls are huge. The mechanics are very easy to see. The only big downsides is like second boss, maybe nether burst for unorganized groups, stuff like that. But usually Pit is like quite enjoyable. And then Magistas is a good dungeon as well. I like it. It's quite enjoyable, and the pulls, while not insanely huge, are pretty good. And again, you spawn a lot of these like small voidlings, and this will pump up your DPS even more. So yeah, as you can tell, I like to blast. I like it when it's kind of easy to do huge DPS numbers, so a lot of mobs, a lot of big pulls. I enjoyed Gambit for this reason, even though many people don't enjoy this dungeon at all. Yeah. So, anything else I need to add? I'm a bit like torn to put Seed in Dogwater, because again, as soon as I realized how you need to play this dungeon, it became so much easier, and I kind of feel bad for it to end up in Dogwater. Then again, I'm not lying when I say I would not even notice if this dungeon would not return for the next 15 years, because there I wouldn't miss it. I wouldn't miss it at all. There's nothing that is like super hype about that. There's no thing in this dungeon that actually hypes me up to want to play it. Maybe if you need to find something, the damage amp on the last boss, but even then, it's not a good fight to play. It's not fun to run around in a circle like an idiot for 2 minutes, for then to blast in the DPS phase. So yeah, no, this dungeon is it is just dog water, so everything is correct here. All right, this is the tier list for the dungeons. I hope I could state my points clearly, and obviously you can disagree with me, and you can disagree in the comments below if you like a different order, or you like add some points to mine, what you enjoy about the dungeons or what you hate about the dungeons, especially. Sometimes it might be different for different people. Maybe you say, "Ooh, Pit, worst dungeon ever because X Y." That can happen. So feel free to disagree in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, it would be nice if you like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye bye.